Hello and welcome to today's discussion. Today we'll be discussing on your GS Paper 2 Week 7 test. The first question was, point out the cause of the economic backwardness of the KBK district. Discuss the steps taken by the government for the economic development. Now remember that this question can also be in the form of the what are the reasons for the inter-regional disparity or the inter-regional differences. Now this question has to be attended within the 100 marker words. Basically this is a 15 markers question, hence this can be done up to 200 words. Now in this context, First of all, first of all is your intro. The intro has to be simple. Basically, causes of the economic backwardness in the KBK regions are as follows. When I say KBK, it means Kalahandi, Bolangir and Koraput. See, first of all is that the lack of adequate infrastructure, especially roads, railways. If you want, you can expand this very point. Next, low level of manufacturing activity as the economy is mainly agrarian. What is this agrarian? Means agricultural. Next, lack of skill development with respect to the service manufacturing in the KBK region. This is number 2. Next is that the prevalence of poverty. This is the first and the most common reason that since there is the absence of development in this region, hence the poverty rate in this regions are quite high. Another reason is that the tourism sector in the KBK is in the nascent stage. Nascent stage means it's still in a baby stage. Means it's yet to see that the tourism sector becomes such mature and more developed. Next is your geographical factor. What is your geographical factor? Undulating topography in the KBK region. This KBK regions are basically the regions where you find more natural resources, that is your forest, hills, rivers, and building infrastructure in this region becomes very challenging because you need capital and money for that. But despite of government pouring in the money, the biggest challenge over here is your corruption. Sorry, I have made the corruption spelling wrong. See, due to this corruption, what happens is that majority of the resources that has been provided by the government is diverted. I will give you an example. Most of you will be joining the OS system or the ORS system. Now, when you join this system, remember that you would come across a particular term. We call it as the PC system. What is this PC system? Once you qualify, you will get to know it. Next, the government of Odisha schemes. First of all is that the Biju KBK plan, Sadak, Bijli, Pani. These are the three things that they basically focus on the Biju KBK plan because these three are the important infrastructure. Sadak basically is nothing but your road that will help you in connecting with the mainland, that will provide market to your products, etc. Bijli and Pani, these are most important for the development of the both domestic sector as well as your industrial sector. This is important both for the people as well as for the industries. Next, we have the MLA LAD. What is MLA LAD? That is Member of Legislative Assembly Local Area Development Fund. Under this fund, the government allocates the fund to the MLAs who can take up the development activities. Next but not the least, we have the 5T schemes. Now you need to elaborate this 5T schemes. It's already there in the net. But basically what I wanted to say is that this 5T schemes has basically been devised for the timely delivery of the services, so as to delay the services that are being executed. For example, your road building up the roads, payment to the contractors, all this has to be done within the time so as to cut down the chances of corruption. And this is the very reason that you can see that the Pandian sir, who is the personal secretary to the chief minister, has been very thorough in promoting this 5T schemes. Next, promoting tourist destination in the KBK region. This is another main thing. See, tourism, remember that tourism will generate job more than any other thing. So if we can promote the tourism in the KBK region, then that would really be helpful. But again, the basic problem that the tourism is not promoted in this region is because of the lack of facility. See, think of it that if we can have an airport in this KBK region, obviously people will prefer to go there. Next, conclusion. Every time in the conclusion, we need to be optimistic. It is with the development of the KBK region our development process can be truly inclusive. I hope you understand the meaning of inclusive is that taking everyone along with the process of development. Next question. Economic reforms in India have neglected the agriculture and promoted manufacturing and service sector, thereby initiated the process of the uneven economic development. Comment. See, in the intro, first of all, we need to write the reason for the neglect of the agriculture sector. See, what are the reasons for the neglection of the agriculture sector? First of all, first of all is that to generate more employment opportunity, government what they did, they basically focused on your service sector as well as your manufacturing sector to increase the purchasing power of the people, because in the agriculture sector what happened was that the purchasing power of the people was limited, hence focus on manufacturing and service. Next, to increase the GDP growth rate of the and all of the state as well as the nation, to make the nation self-sufficient in manufacturing and to promote export. But what happened is that, however, the development in manufacturing was limited but exceptional in service. But the service sector could not generate the necessary employment. Remember that what happened was that though we went for the both manufacturing and the service sector, but it was the service sector that grew. Manufacturing sector growth was very limited. But this service sector problem was that it could not generate the much employment that was necessary. Hence, as a result of which, what happened that we did not actually gain what we should have gained. Hence, with the conclusion, agriculture employs the agri and sorry, I should have written this like this, that your agriculture and allied activities employ 50% of the people across India. And in this scenario, the government has to refocus on the agricultural sector. Now, what is this allied industry? Allied is nothing but your pisciculture, sericulture, and apiculture. Next, cause for the slowdown of the growth in agriculture. See, again in the intro, it is very simple. The causes for the slowdown of the growth in agriculture are as follows. First, we have the production problem. What is the production problem? Number one is that the land over here is marginalized. That is subsistence agriculture that prevails. That is hand to mouth agriculture. Means whatever we are producing, we are eating that and we do not have surplus to sell it. Why is that? Because of the marginalized land. Land degradation, excessive use of the fertilizer. Next, we have a storage problem. Lack of cold chain go down results in the wastage of your food. Next, we have lack of food processing facility. That is another bigger thing. Next, we have a market problem. That is the low value for the crop. What are the institutional problems? Lack of credit facility for the farmers, delay in the payment of insurance for the loss of the crop, and last but not least is your again corruption. The corruption again remains a bigger factor. What happens actually is that government allocates resources for the farmers, but for the farmers to get those resources they have to go through the bureaucratic system, and within the bureaucratic system what happens is that a certain corruption prevails. If the farmer has been allocated certain amount of subsidy, then they have to give a certain percentage to that particular officer to get that amount. You must have seen recently that recently the state vigilance or cell has been raiding and arresting many officers, those who actually are taking bribe for providing the people with the resources that they own. And that is the basic problem, sir. Their own resources, that is to get their own resources, they have to pay the bribe, and that is the biggest problem over here. Next, India's planning could not meet its most cherished goal of achieving an egalitarian society elucidated. Now, what do we mean by egalitarian society? An egalitarian society, if I say, means a society that has socio-economic equality, or there is the prevalence of the socio-economic equality. This is the meaning of egalitarian society. But what are the problems that India could not achieve this egalitarian society? So basically within this intro we are going, if you give the definition of the egalitarian society, it's good, but basically what we need to know is that we always have the shortage of time, and in the 10 markers we should stick to the word limit and to the point. Hence I would suggest you that simply say that the reason why an egalitarian society could not be achieved, number one is that because of the social inequality. Social inequality, let us say in the terms of education. Now in the terms of education, we can see that we have only 73% literacy rate. It means that 27% of the people are still illiterate and they are out of the education system. Now within this, again we can see is that 65.46% of the women are literate, whereas males, over 80% of the males are literate. So basically what you saw is that inequality at a larger stage, and again that is the inequality that prevails between the women and male. It's the male, yes, women and man, or we can say that is female and male. Now look at this. With respect to health, what is the problem with the health? See, we have the prevalence of the MMR that is at 130. Now okay, you can say what is this inequality? See, basically women's are the ones who will give birth to a child, but on the other hand the health facility that is available to the women are very much, what I can say, are not that developed. Hence the mortality remains amongst them is high, especially when they are pregnant. Similarly, there is prevalence of child marriage. And who is the biggest sufferer of this child marriage? It is none other than your females. They are the biggest sufferer of your child marriage when compared to your male counterpart. Next, domestic and sexual violence that prevails against them. Last but not least, only 14% of the women have parliamentary representation. This is an important thing. See, for a country of 120 crore people, we have 14% of the women's in the parliament, which we can see that women's are underrepresented. Next, resource inequality. In the resource inequality, first let us highlight that India's richest 10% holds 70% of the national wealth. Remember this, that this statistics can also be applied in your essays. This is as for the Oxford India research. It says that 10% of the India's top rich hold 70% of the national wealth, and this is the biggest flaws. Next, with respect to the employment opportunity, it says that as per the future of the work report, it says that 5 out of 1 company prefer male employee, whereas 10 out of 1 company will prefer a female employee. I hope you understand this. Hence, this is the very reason that why the government of Odisha has come up with the reservation for the women. Because the government of Odisha understand that the reservation or the opportunity for the women in the private sector is very less because of the preference of the male employee when compared to the female employee. Next we have is your income inequality. Again, what is the problem? Women's are paid low wage than the male counterpart. This was one of the report published by the monster.com. Now monster.com, as you know, that is a hiring agency or is an employment agency. It's basically, it said that the women's are basically being paid a lower, paying a low job than the counterpart. Now we'll come on to our conclusion. Remember this, that this was your 10 markers question, and 10 markers question has to be focused within the 100 words. You can go up to 100 words but never cross 200 words at no least. I would even suggest that if you can limit up to 150 words, that would be the best. It would be the best because you would save time and gain more marks. Now again, our conclusion has to be optimistic. Though our question is not optimistic, but our conclusion has to be optimistic. Within this optimistic conclusion, I would basically say, please listen to this very carefully, because most of you are not listening to the video and are basically skipping away from the video. I would say that the government has initiated multiple schemes as a result of which women are being brought at equal with the men. For example, 33% reservation of the Panchayati Raj seats. So basically, if I am going to write a conclusion, I can say that the government is slowly promoting reservations for the women. Again, we can see that however, skill development amongst the women can lead to the greater egalitarian society, because there would be a more jobs for the women. So from this, I will simply write down a conclusion. See, egalitarian society is the need of the nation, because nation So basically, I would say that you write the simple, that there's only one statement, and that would be more than enough, and no need to extend anything else. Simple statement will do fine. Conclusion: egalitarian society is the need of the nation. Done. Thank you. That will be all for